Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another week of online learning. I hope everyone is being safe and that you're enjoying this new experience. This week, we're going to talk about keyboard instruments. There are many kinds of keyboard instruments, and we're going to learn how they look, how some of them look. We're going to learn how they sound, and we're going to learn how to recognize pitches on the keyboard instrument. First, let's review some things that we learned in class before. Every note represents a sound for a certain amount of beats. And we also talked about two kinds of sound, pitched sounds and unpitched sounds. There are pitched instruments and unpitched instruments. My voice is a pitched instrument, guitar is a pitched instrument, piano is a pitched instrument, many kinds of pitched instruments, saxophone, all the woodwinds are pitched instrument, all the string instruments are pitched instruments, all of the brass instruments are pitched instruments. There's only one family that has both pitched and unpitched instruments. Only one family, and if you have guessed it, you're right. It's the percussion family. Percussion family has both pitched instruments and unpitched instruments. Unpitched percussion instruments would be most of your drums, your cymbals, your maracas, your triangle. Pitched percussion instruments include, as we've seen in school, again, this is a review, boom whackers, xylophones, metallophones, piano, and all the keyboard instruments. And as I said, today we're going to talk about the keyboard family. Some piano and keyboard instruments we're going to talk about today are the piano, the organ, the harpsichord, the electronic keyboards, and we're going to mention the accordion. So just for fun, I'm going to show you some of the keyboard instruments I have here in my home. As you know, I'm a piano player, and I have several keyboard instruments in my home that I'm going to introduce you to. So come along with me. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day in this neighborhood. Would you be mine? All right, so now I'm going to switch to full screen. 1 second. Here is my organ. My organ, and organs are characterized by several things. An organ usually is going to have more than one keyboard. As you can see, there's one keyboard here and another one right there. But there's also one for your feet. There's an organ down there that we use our feet with. A keyboard down there that we use our feet with. So this organ has a total of 3 keyboards. 1, 2, 3. But there are some organs that have 5 keyboards. So an organ is a pretty interesting instrument. This is an electronic organ called the Hammond A100. So the sound is made electronically and comes through the speakers that are underneath. But there are organs that make their sound through air, and they're called pipe organs. The pipe organ is actually much older than the piano and even the electronic organ. The pipe organ is used usually in church. You've heard them in haunted house shows where they do. So that's whenever you hear that spooky Dracula sound, that's a pipe organ. But I'm going to take and show you how this organ sounds. All right? That is my organ. And again, there's several keyboards. And I play organ at church every Sunday. This organ's like this. So that's my Hammond organ. And to review, organs have more than one keyboard, including one keyboard for your feet. Very important to remember that. The organ also has the capability. The organ is also is used in church a lot. One of the main places you will hear organ is in church. But you might hear, they used to have organ at baseball games. They used to play them over the speakers, but I don't think that happens very much anymore. Now I'm going to take you over here to see my piano. All right? That's my piano. And this piano was donated to me by a very special lady in Parkland, Mrs. Franston. She's one of our substitute teachers at the school. Thank you, Miss Franston. Everybody give Miss Franston a big round of applause for donating this piano. And this is called an upright piano. The upright piano, it just stands upright. The strings are in this section of the piano, right up here. And there are other kinds of piano as well. There is the grand piano, there is the baby grand piano, and there's also the spinet pianos, and as I said before, the upright piano. So let me just play a few things. That's the piano, and that piece was by J.S. Bach. Well, that's not the whole piece, but that was what we call a D minor invention. Upright piano, all right? And of course, there's... What's cool about keyboard instruments is that, and what I love them so much, is that you get a full range of sound. You have your low sounds, and you have your high sound. So, I can... So you can do a lot of things on the piano that some instruments can't do because they don't have both low and high. Some instruments are high, some are low. But keyboard instruments, as well as a lot of string instruments, can do both low and high, which is why I play both string and keyboard instruments. Yay. Now over here, we have my electronic keyboard, my Yamaha S80. It's a very old keyboard. And I use this to do my home recordings and stuff on the computer and the keyboard. Keyboards are really, really cool because they use a language called MIDI to create sounds that are not necessarily piano sounds. They can sound like a piano, but they can also sound like a trumpet or flute or orchestra, all kinds of cool sounds. Like, it can sound like an orchestra. Actually, I want to cry though. No, but that was an orchestra sound, or you could sound like a brass instrument, like maybe trumpets. Or you can sound like a guitar or electric bass. Hmm. This could sound like a bass. That's an electric bass sound. Or I can sound like more like a guitar, right? So as I said, that's the cool thing about keyboards. Most of the music you hear nowadays is going to have some kind of keyboard, electronic keyboard sounds in it, because instead of having to call in and hold an entire orchestra, you can just use the keyboard. So although they don't sound exactly like the original instruments, they can come pretty close and sound really, really good. That's one of the really cool things about the electronic keyboard. So now, I also wanted to show you the sound from the keyboard is coming from that amplifier. The amplifier takes the sound, takes it through what we call a jack, right? This is the jack right here. And the jack is connected to the keyboard in the back, right? Right there. Sorry. Right there. And so you connect it to the keyboard, and what it does is make the sound louder. All electronic guitars and electric bass and electronic keyboards, most of them use an amplifier as well. And to amplify means to make the sound bigger. Amplify means to make the sound louder, to amplify a sound. So those were my keyboards, and hope you enjoyed that little tour. Now we're going to move to basically, I'm going to say again, review what we said about the piano. Has strings inside. The strings are hammered inside the piano. They have little hammers that hammer the strings. And there are three kinds we mentioned: the upright piano, the baby grand piano, and the full grand piano. Okay? We also said that the keyboard instruments have low sounds and high sounds. Okay. Then we have talked about the organ. The organ has more than one keyboard, including a keyboard for your feet. Most organs have at least 3 keyboards, one for your feet and 2 for your hands. Then we also talked about the fact that there's electronic organs and pipe organs. And we talked about that organ, one of the main places you will hear organ is in a church somewhere. All right? We also mentioned that I play in church every Sunday. I'd like to mention what's called a harpsichord. I don't have any here to show you, but I will put a video on the harpsichord in your lesson. So harpsichord, many of them look just like a piano, but they're not pianos. They sound differently because the strings, instead of being hammered inside, they're plucked inside. And because of that, a harpsichord can sound a lot like a guitar, all right, or some kind of string instrument. Harpsichords also can have more than one keyboard. Not all of them have more than one keyboard, but many of them can. Many of them do. So that's the harpsichord. And we also talked about the electronic keyboard. And the electronic keyboards we have a language called MIDI that allows it to sound like different instruments from other instrument families beside the keyboard family, like a trumpet or a guitar or an orchestra. Okay, and we also said that many keyboards have to use an amplifier to make the sound. Now, one we did not mention is the accordion. The accordion, I'm going to also put a video of this. It's an instrument that they squeeze. The sound comes from squeezing air into the instrument, and there's a little keyboard that they play on the side. And I'll show you a video of that. The accordion, air is squeezed into it, and that's what creates a sound when they squeeze air into it while they play the keyboard. That's what makes a sound. It's a very unique sound and very cool sound as well. So as I said before, I'm going to put a video of these keyboards in your modules. I'd like you to listen to this instrument, and I would also like you to complete the quiz on the keyboard family. One last mention, I should have mentioned this earlier, but what makes a keyboard instrument is the fact that it has a keyboard. Well, what is a keyboard? A keyboard is the black and white keys. As you can see, every keyboard instrument is going to have this pattern of keys. You will see 2, then 3, then 2, then 3, while there's white keys on the bottom. If you see this pattern on an instrument, black and white keys with this pattern, it is a keyboard instrument. That's what makes it a keyboard instrument, not its sound, because we have many different kinds of sounding keyboard instrument. What makes it a keyboard instrument is the black and white pattern of keys, the 2, 3, 2, 3 pattern. Okay? We will continue this discussion about keyboard family next week. Do the quiz. You should be able to finish by Friday. Have an awesome week. And as always, stay safe.